types or different parameters, right? Next, we are going to talk about the inline functions and the default arguments, right? When we define the inline function and default arguments, how does it define? See, what are these actually inline functions? We all know that in functions, what we are going to use, we are going to define a function, and in that particular function, we have in that particular function, when we see, there are two things. One thing is calling a function, and second thing is executing that particular line of code of function, right? So when we talk about the time, there are two things. One is calling a function, and the other point is called as the execution time. When we switch to the function, it takes more time as compared to the execution of that particular function time, right? So it is important, or it is useful of using these particular functions when we have large number of code of a particular function. So for large functions, the overhead of the function call is usually insignificant compared to the amount of time the function takes to run, right? So when we define that this particular calling of function takes more time, so it is using overhead, it is using overhead of the function call. So we should remember that if we are using a large function, then the overhead is usually insignificant as compared to the amount of time the function takes to run. While when we have a small function or commonly used function, then the time needed to make the function call is often a lot more than the time needed to actually execute the function code, right? So we say that whenever we are using a large function, we can use this particular functions in simple way. But when we are using small code or small functions, the overhead time is lot more as compared to the execution of the function code. So what should be done to reduce this particular overhead for small functions? We use the inline functions. So inline function is a short function that is expanded by the compiler. So this particular function is defined with the keyword that is called as the inline. Okay, so when we give a demo program, we define hash include IO stream using namespace. Inline, this is a function. You just see that this is a simple function. The only thing is we are using a keyword that is called as the inline, which describes that this particular function is what? It is a inline function. Okay, so here we have, let's say, return s into s into s. So when we are going to write a main program, and in this particular main program, we have C out the cube of 3, and I'm calling this particular function, that is cube 3. So it is going to give you the result. It will return 0 and the close of curly braces. Now what will be the output of this program is cube of 3 will be 3 into 3 into 3, that is 27. Now first thing is we have to remember that we are using this particular program or function as same as a simple function. The only thing is using a keyword, that is the inline keyword, right? What does it do? It just increases the efficiency of the program. How does it increases? See, when I'm calling the function out here, when I'm going to call out the function here, the function, what happens when the program execute the function call? The instruction, the CPU stores the memory address of the instruction specified by the function. So what happens? It will take a longer time, while it will take a smaller time to execute this particular line of code. So I can see that this particular function has a less number of line of code, right? So I should not use a simple function, because the overhead of calling the function is lot more than the execution of a simple line of code. So I'm going to use the inline function whenever we have the short programs, right? So that is why the inline function is used. That is the main agenda of using the inline functions. So you have to remember this inline function, that is important. Again, in now this is the output, that is the cube of out 3 is 27. Now moving further, we have one more thing that is called as the default arguments. Now what are these default arguments? See, a default argument is a value provided in a function declaration that is automatically assigned by the compiler if the caller of the function doesn't provide a value for the argument with a default value. Now what does this mean? See, let's say we have a function declared, and in that particular function, I have declared 4 values, right? So there is no need that I can also define the 2 parameters. I can also define the 3 parameters, and I can also define the 4 parameters in that particular function. So I'm going to show you the simple program C++ example to demonstrate the use of default arguments. We don't have to write 3 sum functions. Only one function works by using default values for third and fourth arguments, right? So in this concept, the default argument works. Let me show you. See, let's take an example that will make you more clear about this. This is integer sum, let's say, and we have how many? 4 arguments in this. What are these? It is int x, int y, int z is equal to 0, int w is equal to 0. And I'm going to return x plus y plus z plus w. Now, in this particular default argument, I can use two arguments also. I can use 3 arguments also, and I can use 4 arguments also. And it can work with the function, right? So this is called as the default arguments in function in C++. So here you can see that these are x, y plus z plus w. So we have given here C out as sum 10, 15. And NL is just the next line. It can be used with the same concept of /n. That is moving to the next line. Now see out sum 10, 15, 25. Now 10, 15, 25, you can see there. Here are the three arguments which are given. So if we do not have, or we do not need the condition in which we need another function, we can use the same function as the sum 10, 15, 25. Next, we have taken out again with the default same function, that is with 4 arguments 10, 15, 25, 30. So it will give you the result. Now you can see the output. The output will be given will be 10, 15 is 25. 10, 15, 25 will be 50. And 10, 15, 25, 30 will be 80. Okay, so these are the, this is the function with default arguments which can be given. So this is how the functions can be defined, and we can call this with 2 arguments also, 3 arguments also, or 4 arguments also. Obviously, we cannot call it with 1 argument because we need 2 operators. You know, we need 2 numbers to add. So 1 argument cannot be worked on with this, right? So this is what, this is the default program. So we have to remember the inline function and the default program.